Every season is spooky season in our book.
So settle in and prepare to be shook. You are listening to Shook, a comedic podcast about all things paranormal and unexplained.
I'm Sannah.
Hey, y'all, I'm Amanda. And surprise, we're matching on accident.
We are. This was not planned. It wasn't.
Not at all.
But I love it.
Not at all.
It just shows how much we're aligned that we did this. Even though last time we really weren't aligned because I did all sequins with no warning.
And I'm like chilling it. I don't even know what I wore. I don't think I own a single sequined item anymore. I think I got rid of so many clothes earlier this year. I just did a full closet cleanse.
Yes.
And got rid of all the crap I don't need. So
Amanda's closet
there's
takeover.
That.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any other fun facts? I'll let you go first.
Yes. I don't know, for those watching, you may notice that I'm not sunken down into the depths of hell like I usually am. I'm usually like way down here, like just trying to reach the microphone because my other chair was like super low rider. But I went down to the Thrift Smart and I got me a stool, Bob. And so now we're out here, we're up here. So yeah, I'm not fighting for my life to try to reach the mic anymore, and I'm not having to sit on a pile of squishmallows. My squishmallows can be free to expand and not be crushed by my ass any longer. Oh, I have another fun fact, but do you have a fun fact though?
I do. I have a couple. First and foremost, it is the start of Aquarius season, which means my birthday is almost here, and I used to get excited about that. Not really anymore, though. I'm like, cool, I'm alive still. Thanks.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to go up to Nashville and see my gal Sannah and Stephanie for the first time in a while and celebrate at an undisclosed date
and location. Yes, we're going to have a girls' weekend. And legend has it we're going to have a Twilight marathon. So, yeah, that'll be fun.
Yes, we talked about doing that. I don't know if we're going to dress up or anything, but if we didn't do that, another idea I had for the party would be, and this is totally my random idea, I thought it would be fun to do I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence party. And we all dress like Nicolas Cage, and we have a game where there are clues written and hidden throughout the home. And to steal the Declaration of Independence, you have to do this little, kind of, what do you call it? Scavenger hunt. Yes, that's the word. Thank you. Whatever theme or themes we choose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My other fun fact is that I went to the zoo today. And it was fun.
Oh, please tell me all about this.
I went with Danielle and our friend Erin. So we went to the zoo. It was fun. It was a really nice sunny day today, which is nice because yesterday was like bitterly cold, which that's another annoying thing about those dates I told you about is like the first date we went on, it was like pouring rain outside. And then for yesterday when we were like walking around outside, it was cold as fuck. It was just like the odds were not in our favor. But then of course today it's like sunny and warm. But it was still fun. Yeah. I saw the highlight was that I got to see the tiger up close, like really, really close, because he was sleeping up next to the glass, just like on his back, like, and he had his face pressed up against the glass. So it was like he was right there. I was an inch away from the tiger.
Oh my gosh.
It was cool.
That's awesome. Tigers are my favorite.
Yeah, my favorite wild animals are definitely the big cats, big cat rescue. But anyways, let's get into the episode because no one wants to hear any more of this, and I'm probably gonna have to cut out a ton of it to begin with. What had you
darn. Well, can I tell you an animal story real quick?
Yes.
Okay, I didn't see a tiger, but as you know, I've got my two Futurama kitties, Bender and Fry. They're both incredibly smart. They know words like hungry, like do you want to go outside? Bedtime, you want a treat? They know what all those things mean. Like they get it. Okay. Fry, his intelligence has reached a whole new level. So when Connolly gets home from work, typically he'll be the one to play with Fry first because Fry is just a ball of energy. And he made this makeshift, and it's always the makeshift toys that you didn't spend $20 on. It's literally a stick with a piece of, I guess, I don't know, butcher's twine or something. And he whips it back and forth and he, puts it on the ground, makes him chase it. He loves that shit. It was almost free 99. It was so cheap. But that's his favorite freaking toy. And we keep it underneath the TV in this little drawer that we have. This motherfucker couldn't wait for Daddy to get home one day. So what did he do? He opened the drawer by himself and pulled the toy out of the drawer. He literally bit, pawed, scratched, pulled on this thing until it opened just so he could play. And he dragged it around the house.
Badass kids.
He's been doing that. I know. He can't stop. Won't stop. But yeah, that's all I got. That's my fun fact, I guess.
Well, what had you shook this week, though?
Alrighty. I can tell you about that. So, the story that had me shook this week. All right. The story that had me shook this week is the Crescent Hotel.
Oh.
I'm excited to tell you about this one.
Yes.
Alrighty. Located in the Ozark Mountains in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, sits the beautiful Crescent Hotel. Despite its remarkable Victorian beauty, the hotel has a troubling past, and it's considered one of the most, if not the most, haunted hotels in all of the United States of America. So, before I dive into the Crescent Hotel itself, I did want to tell you a couple fun facts about the history of Eureka Springs, Arkansas. So, just real quick, back in 1879, people from all over flocked to Eureka Springs, Arkansas. These folks excitedly came to the area when ancient Native American waters were rediscovered and rumors of the water's healing powers circulated. So I guess kind of like the Fountain of Youth type situation. So by the year of 1880, the population pretty much had gone from nothing to, bam, 15,000 residents, which back then I feel like is probably a lot of people. They sometimes joked that Eureka Springs was the new Little Chicago. They had all kinds of shenanigans going on. All the well-to-do folks were going there. So not much longer after this population boom, the Crescent Hotel was born. Built in 1886, the Crescent Hotel was considered the most luxurious hotel west of the Mississippi. Bubbles, luxury, real diamonds. With that said, the Crescent Hotel was at one point invitation only, and it was meant for the high society only. So basically, if you weren't sleeping in a bed of cash, super freaking rich, then you weren't getting in, and that's a fact. You quite simply do not pass go, and you certainly do not collect $200.
You're out.
Okay. Wait, what? What did you say?
It's my favorite thing to say. Like if you don't meet the expectations, you're out. You have to say it like that.
How very
stupid.
It's giving Heathers, and I'm here for it.
Yes.
You're out.
You're out.
Okay. All right. So it's alleged that during construction of the hotel, a stone worker named Michael, who was working on the hotel, He was way up high, and he saw a beautiful young lady from this great height, and he thought it would be a wonderful idea to lean over and holler at her. Who knows what he said? He may have looked her up and down and said, "You got a purty mouth," or, whatever flirtatious saying was popular back then. You could say his little head was doing all the thinking, not the big head up here. So whoopsie! While trying to entice this lady, he fell to his death into/onto room 218. It's unclear because I'm not sure at what point they were in with construction, if it was just a shallow husk of a room and he fell in it, or he came from a balcony, fell on top of the roof. I don't know, but he died. He died. That's all I know.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know, right? Oh no. So that was room 218.
Damn.
And we will circle back to Michael. Don't you worry. Okay, so now you might think, in theory, that saving the hospitality of this hotel only for the wealthiest and most well-to-do, that its exclusivity would send more people in droves. Because, it was basically Arkansas's hottest club. But no, this business model was simply not keeping the lights on as expected. So, in 1908, this luxury hotel was used as a woman's conservatory. So basically, it was a seasonal school for the well-to-do young women. It sounded kind of like they were maybe phasing out the invite-only hotel bullshit, and then in the off season they would have the girls come and go to school seasonally, kind of like a semester type thing. It did that off and on. So the conservatory for young women was kind of in this off and on kind of stint from 1908 until 1934. Sorry, I got a Bender's fur is in my fucking nose. He just loves mama. I swear I do not do cocaine.
A piece of him with you at all times.
That is my needy boy, and I love him so much. Okay. So the rumor has it that while the school was in session, one of the students either fell or jumped in a fit of despair from the third floor balcony. And there's some speculation that this woman who jumped or fell to her death may have been pregnant out of wedlock. Your body
We're
is
going to
a
have to
temple.
send her away.
Okay. All right, so we'll touch on her later. But between this poor lady and Michael, the stoneworker, you could say that gravity's a real freaking jerk. So then in 1937, a purple-clad fellow named Norman G. Baker enters the chat. Now, this Norman Baker guy, I'm just gonna come right out and say it, okay? This dude has got to be one of the most sinful, shameless, scumbag charlatans I have ever heard of in my entire life. And if I saw him, I would have punched him square in the gut.
Well, what did he do?
Oh, girl. Listen to this. What this Norman Baker decided he wanted to do was purchase the hotel, paint it up in his favorite color, purple, and convert it into a hospital. Because after all, this guy, he had the cure for cancer. Can you believe it? Wow, wonderful, right? Wrong. Because you know why? This man did not have a medical degree, no medical training, literally nothing. He ain't got nothing. He is simply, he's out. He's simply unqualified. You may be wondering, what the fuck was he? If he wasn't a doctor, what was he? Well, I'll tell you. He was a broadcaster, okay? He had a large following, and that's it. He was basically America's original gangster influencer shilling essential oils. That's pretty much what he was. So, guess what, Sannah? Guess what this brosif thought was the cure for cancer?
What?
No guesses at all? Make a couple guesses.
Okay.
It could be anything. I promise you it's not as weird as this.
What he thought was the cure for cancer. Drinking your own pee.
Ooh,
no?
That's pretty
Tell me
gnarly.
if I'm warm.
That's pretty gnarly. It's not.
Tell me if I'm like warm or
It does
cold, because I
involve
kind of
liquid.
low-key do want to make guesses. It's involved with liquid?
Okay, please guess. It's involved with liquid. So you're lukewarm? But I guarantee you will not guess what it is.
The cure for cancer. Oh, the water from the spring, like the water. Yeah, the mineral water,
No.
right? Because that would get people to come there.
That is a great guess. And when I learned that that's what Eureka Springs was famous for, I was like, oh, this motherfucker right here, he's going to try to bamboozle us with some healing, Eureka Spring water,
He ought to have
like
done
Dasani.
that.
But no. I'm going to tell you what he thought was, or rather, what he told people was the cure for cancer. Are you ready for this? Get ready. Buckle up. Ground up watermelon seeds, brown corn silk, red clover, some water, mint, and carbolic acid in a vial, in a concoction.
Okay, a tincture. I see where he's going with it, but that's quite a claim to make.
Yeah, all I got to say is, what in the fresh hell is this MLM snake oil bullshit? Because I'm not a doctor. I didn't go to medical school. I certainly don't have the cure for cancer. But I'm pretty sure that watermelon seeds have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's like so bizarre to me. Crushed up watermelon seeds? I don't know about you, but my mama told me if you swallow a watermelon seed, you're going to get a prego belly and give birth to a watermelon. That's a scientific fact. What was your initial thought when I said that this was a concoction? How would you preferably like to take something like this?
Well, I would assume it's being distributed by mouth. Is he sticking it up people's asses?
Yeah, about that, Norman Baker made millions allegedly off of these sick people, and over 40 people died at the hospital in his care because guess what? This concoction that he made to cure people was injected directly into their tumors up to 7 times a day.
He was inflaming them. That's very. He was literally like inflaming them by doing that. Fuck.
And he was
Directly
taking
into
money for this. He was literally he literally had this big ass sign on the hotel/hospital that said cancer curable, and he had literature out there that said cure for cancer guaranteed. You
That
can't do that. Yeah, it's really fucked up. And yeah. So back to the story. So prior to his Crescent Hotel bullshit, Norman was traveling as a mentalist where he did mind reading shows in vaudeville, and he only got by with this with his strikingly beautiful eyes and charisma. Dude was a bullshit artist, but karma's a bitch. Norman Baker was eventually arrested and imprisoned for fraud charges. He died in September of 1958 in his yacht in Miami, Florida. So it sounds like he didn't have an actual physical piece of property. A yacht is pretty bougie, don't get me wrong. But the point is, he died. And you're not going to believe this, but he died of cirrhosis of the liver that had been aggravated by cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's that? So,
That's irony.
yeah. So the hotel turned hospital obviously had a change of ownership after all that, and it of course turned back into the hotel that it was always intended to be. And listen to this, hunty. In 2019, like hardly any years ago, I feel like 2019 was yesterday, but at this point, is it 2023? What day is it? I don't know. For whatever reason, some people at the hotel decided that they had to excavate the property behind the hotel, and what they unearthed was completely jaw-dropping. Like, what? It's giving American Horror Story season 1, because buried underneath the soil were dozens of jars containing tumors and other body parts submerged in formaldehyde or whatever was most convenient for him to soak it in, you know? Who knows? I doubt it was real formaldehyde. However, they were still preserved. So, first and foremost, this man did not believe in surgery on living people, but he had no problem cutting someone up after they had already passed on. And he would carve out the cancer in their body and whatever body parts may be attached. And he would put these parts into jars and preserve them. And over the course of the years, somehow they had gotten buried. And even still in 2023, if you visit the hotel, the morgue is down below inside the hotel. And lined along the back wall of the morgue are actual jars of these specimens. And on the property where they started carving all the earth out, they have it looks like a glass enclosure kind of separating it so that people don't fall in. Don't fall in. And it has some of the jars sticking out.
So you can if you stay in the hotel, you can just go down there?
Yes, so they offer ghost tours and things like that.
Oh, okay.
For the moment we've been waiting for, the hauntings. So I really wanted to see some physical evidence of this, and oh my goodness, Sannah. All right, so just so you know, I did send you some photos, and I sent you a video. It's on Reddit, and they're really creepy, just so you can reference as I'm telling you these stories. So now for the hauntings. I really wanted to see some physical evidence, and so I watched several YouTube videos, two of which were OmarGosh TV and Kelsi Davies. They collabed together, and they were in each other's video. They were exploring the hotel at the same time, so there's a little bit of overlap, but they each did get some of their own original evidence that was not cross-distributed, and so those were both really good. Omar brought his lady, and Kelsi brought her pal Mackenzie. They, like I said, had unique footage, and then there was some overlap. I also found a YouTube video from another show called Haunting History, I believe. And of course, I also watched my favorite, Ghost Adventures, read some articles, Reddit, etc. There is an episode on this hotel and Ghost Hunters, but when I looked it up on Discovery Plus, I didn't see it. It looked like they only had 2 of the newer seasons, so I was really upset because I really wanted to watch that. I'm sure they did a great job, but just kind of, I know. I was upset. I was like, come
They're
on.
like the Ghost Hunters hub,
I pay for this service.
Right.
Right. I'm paying good money for this. Anyway, so on OmarGosh TV YouTube channel, here's some of the evidence that I got. So the gals that accompanied Omar said that their camera batteries were going dead quickly. One of them said that her battery went abruptly, like instantaneously, from 55% to 0, just out of the blue. That's one thing that happened. Another one of the gals that was with Omar later had said that they were in the pain asylum where the dying patients were kept. So in addition to his surgery room or whatever, he had a pit for people who were dying, and he had another room for people who were causing a fit that he thought needed some sort of psychological intervention. And that's where they were hanging out. And while they were hanging in this area where the people were dying, she suddenly felt pain. I think this was Kelsi. She felt pain on the side where her liver is, and she said she sensed a tall man with her. And this pain was really abrupt, and it left as soon as she got out of there. And you'll understand the significance of that at the end. But ooh-wee. They showed a video that someone had taken while staying in one of the rooms. It looks like there's a girl darting across the camera. I sent you that video if you want to check it out. You can check it out right now or not, but basically that was one of the more compelling pieces that I saw. They were on the 4th floor, room 412, where there was a woman named Theodora, and they call room 412 Theodora's room. She allegedly was a nurse turned patient. She worked for him, and then she got sick herself, and when she died, she stayed in the hotel. And people say that she's kind of a neat freak, and she can, I don't know if it's just her being passive aggressive at times, but apparently if she doesn't like someone, she'll mess with them in ways like if they leave the room, she'll stack your suitcases up along the door so you can't get back in. Or for the neat freak aspect of her, sometimes if you leave things scattered around the bed or whatever, she'll organize them from biggest to smallest or what have you to make it kind of be in order. So she's kind of very particular in that way. Omar and the rest of his crew, they leave and they go to dinner. When they come back to room 412, they find that one of the floor lamps had turned on. It was off when they left. They did not turn that light on. It turned on by itself. And this actually, in Theodora's room, I watched a couple other YouTube videos that I just kind of skimmed. And in that same room, multiple people had left to come back and find the light was on. So it wasn't just them. There was, I want to say it was Mackenzie, when they were at dinner, she had her battery pack plugged up and it was charging. But when they got back, her charger had been unplugged. After that happened, completely unprovoked, Mackenzie's iPhone flashlight turned on all by itself. I forget what it was. It looked like a bottle or something. There's something that was sitting in the middle of the floor. It flipped over by itself. Again, I'm not sure if it was a cup or something. I couldn't tell what it was, and I even put that in my notes, but it flipped over by itself. They caught that on camera, I think. They locked themselves up in the morgue, and they began to ask Norman questions using a couple different communication tools. One was the red light, green light thing, the yes or no replies, and sometimes it shows written responses, I guess. So they ended up getting some creepy, intelligent replies. The REM pod started lighting up, and it was going crazy during certain questions. Another thing that happened was in the morgue, one of the girls was operating a tool with the written responses, and she had her noise canceling headphones on with her eyes closed, covered rather. It was completely sensory deprived. She couldn't see or hear anything. And she kept seeing these disturbing images, and one of those images was of a fetus. She gets freaked out, and they ask if it was an abortion, and the yes green light goes off. So green is yes, red is no. That was kind of creepy. Kelsi, I guess she's a psychic medium. I found that out when I was watching her YouTube channel. She's the one that was doing that. There's some other cool things that happen. They go into Michael's room, where the guy had died when he fell, leaning over to say hey to that lady. And an EVP that they caught said, "I fell." So that happened. They got some other cool stuff, but the story's going pretty long, so I'll break it down. Ghost Adventures, the most pivotal piece of evidence I've ever seen. Zach has a coughing fit. There's a tour guide named Diane who mentions that there's a boy named Brecky, and she took a photo of his spirit on the staircase. That's one of the photos I sent you. I don't know much about Brecky's story, but in the image you can see an actual person at the foot of the stairs, and then at the little apex where it turns up, you see like a translucent boy, and there's a little bench behind him. So you can see through and see that the bench is still there. So it's got to be a ghost. There's no way around it. Another tour guide said that she's had 3 people faint on the 3rd floor, and the 3rd floor is where that lady had jumped, the lady in the mist. Oh, when Zach had his coughing fit, they reviewed the EVP after the cough, and this voice says, "You got credit?" So you're like, "Norman's hustling me for money. Oh, you can't pay up front? That's fine. We'll just do a payment plan. I'd say a 12-month payment plan, but we might want to cut it shorter than that. I'd like to have all your money at least within 3 months, because you never know. I mean, I'm gonna do the best I can, but I can't promise you you're gonna be I can't promise you're gonna be on this earth for 12 months." Let's see what else happens. Oh, they review some footage, and there's a white mist that shoots past Zach, and then there's another EVP. They think that's the spirit of Michael. Zach feels a scratch on his neck, and he thinks it's Norman Baker. They put on one of those voice boxes that scans at different frequencies. I forget, it might be the REM pod. I could be wrong. They put it out in the hallway, and in 30 minutes, they only pick up one. one EVP. In one voice, it's a woman voice. It says hello. Zach, of course, has a bad dizzy spell, and he puts Billy in charge of the voice box, and it says Billy. So it did give some intelligent, kind of stuff. So yeah, they had other EVPs. There was more evidence, but you get the idea. There's at least 4 or 5 different ghosts in that hotel, some of which they didn't have much of a backstory. But so would you go? Would you go with me to the Crescent Hotel?
Yeah, that sounds cool. I would like to go there. It's not that far. I mean, it is, but it's not. It's like in our region at least. So, yeah, I would.
It's in the Ozark Mountains. It's northwest Arkansas.
Yeah, I would love to go like this year if pos. Like, that would be cool. I'd love to go anywhere this year, but that place sounds really cool, especially with like the morgue feature and like the ghost tour feature.
Oh my gosh, I would die. What about you? What had you shook this week, Sannah?
I actually have a pretty short story this time, but
Oh my
it's still
God.
interesting. Have you ever heard of a haunted Toys R Us?
I sure haven't, and I'm going to stop my cackling. Tell me about this haunted Toys R Us.
Allegedly, there was a haunted Toys R Us in Sunnyvale, California. Of course, you know how they started closing down all the Toys R Us's across the nation. So this Toys R Us was closed down in 2018, so it doesn't exist anymore. But it was built in the 70s and existed until 2018, and it was haunted from the jump. Now it's an REI, camping supplies. And it's probably still haunted too then.
Nice.
But basically, this Toys R Us was haunted from the time that it was built because of a man named Johnny Johnson, that's who haunts the location where the Toys R Us stood. His name was Johnny Johnson, and he was a ranch hand on Martin Murphy's wheat plantation. And that was on the land that is now the city of Sunnyvale. And then one day he was killed in a machinery accident in 1884. An artery in his leg was severed, and he bled to death right where the Toys R Us was built. So he died on the location of the Toys R Us. And basically, his ghost has been reportedly known since the 70s. There's just been a lot of different reports from employees and stuff. For example, a former employee named Putt Putt O'Brien. I don't know. Really?
Oh my God. Oh, O'Brien.
O'Brien.
Comma, Putt Putt. No, just kidding.
No. A former employee named Putt Putt O'Brien shared her Johnson ghost sighting with the Chicago Tribune in 1991. She said that he looked like a young man in his 20s or 30s, and he was wearing a work shirt, knickers, and a gray tweed cap, and he walked past her once while she was working. She said she also heard horses galloping through the store once.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't know about the horses galloping through the store.
You sure this wasn't a zoo?
It's giving Jumanji. Sylvia Brown, a world-renowned psychic, investigated this Toys R Us and declared that he is a classic case of a ghost caught in a time warp. So I actually have like a little... You already know Ghostland by Colin Dickey was my source. You already know what it is. So I have like some direct quotes from Sylvia Brown. She said, "He's a classic case of a ghost caught in a time warp. He's hard at work at his handyman job, tending to the Martin Murphy ranch that thrived on the same land 100 years ago. He can't figure out for the life of him where all these loud, rambunctious children keep coming from, who tear up his freshly planted vegetables, having no clue that the children are actually playing up and down the aisles of the toy store that sits there today." So he's a confused Allegedly, he's a confused spirit that in his reality, he's just back working the farmland on the spot where the Toys R Us
Mm-hmm.
is. And all this goings on around him is just like, it's not his reality. And so Sylvia Brown allegedly learned from her investigation into the haunted Toys R Us that Johnson had fallen in love with his boss's daughter, Elizabeth Murphy, but was heartbroken to discover that she had married a lawyer and moved to Boston where he was based. So it was an unrequited love, and he was a sad boy. So a short time after she married the lawyer and moved to Boston, the accident happened that killed him. So allegedly, he died of a broken heart. And now his ghost just limps through the aisles of the store, still doing the work he did in life on that very spot. In the late 70s, Sylvia Brown hosted a seance in that Toys R Us to communicate with Johnson. And during the seance, an infrared photo was taken that shows an anomaly. And that anomaly is a black silhouette of a figure standing with their thumbs in their belt loops like a cowboy stance. And everyone else in the room shows up on the infrared image, like how a human with heat would show up. And then he shows up as a black
Right.
silhouette because he's not a human with heat, allegedly. So this seance that happened and the infrared photo were featured on the 80s TV show That's Incredible. Both Sylvia Brown and the Sunnyvale Toys R Us became quite popular as a result. Other Toys R Us locations in San Bernardino, California, and North Bergen, New Jersey even claimed they were haunted too. Because they wanted some clout. They needed a dollop of clout. Sylvia Brown became, after all of this, all of this spectacle, Sylvia Brown became a best-selling author, of course, and she made a lot of money doing psychic readings as well. And she also appeared regularly on the Montel Williams show. If you look her up, you'll recognize her. Like, I didn't realize who she was, and then I looked her up and I recognized her.
Oh my god. That was prime television back in the day.
Montel, yes.
Oh my god.
So she was also called upon by law enforcement, to help out as a medium, but she ended up kind of doing more harm than good with that kind of stuff because she was just giving inaccurate readings, saying that when they were looking for a missing person, telling the upset families no, he's alive actually, and he's alive, or something like that, and then only for them to be found dead. And it was just she was just causing problems. It was inconsistent.
Causing a ruckus.
It was really just inconsistent. So Sylvia Brown made regular trips back to see Johnson over the years at the Toys R Us. In her 2003 book, Visits from the Afterlife, she says that she tried to convince Johnson to go to the light of God that was waiting for him and be reunited with his lost love. She said that Johnson got so tired of her trying to get him to cross over that one day he said, "If you don't stop telling me I'm dead, I'm never going to talk to you again." So maybe he snapped.
Burn.
She didn't want that connection to be severed, so she never mentioned it again. But yeah, so that's the haunted Toys R Us, but it's not a Toys R Us anymore, so now it's a haunted REI, I guess. If anybody knows anything about the REI also being haunted, the REI in Sunnyvale that replaced the Toys R Us, let us know. Or if you live in Sunnyvale and want to go do a little ghost hunt on our behalf, I'm curious.
Seriously, dude.
Maybe we could go to the REI and spend the night in one of the tents, display tents.
Ooh. I like that idea.
That would be fun. Yeah,
it sounds way better than actual camping.
Yeah, it's like glamping, but only with the threat of ghosts and not the threat of a bear attack.
Seriously. Oh my god. I saw this I had to go to Chattanooga for something recently, and I think it was when I was on my way to Chattanooga, I saw a billboard and it had two images side by side. One was just a random oak leaf, and the other one was poison ivy. The poison ivy side said, not toilet paper. The random leaf, toilet paper. And I was like, I'll pass on both.
So it was an REI billboard?
For an in-store camp sesh. It was for either a outdoorsman store like that,
Okay, or like
just
a fucking Bass Pro Shop or
Explore Blue Ridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably was Bass. It probably was that Bass. Well, all I'll say is that out of all places that could be haunted, I guarantee a Toys R Us is probably the last kind of place on my list that could be haunted.
Yeah, because it seems like a place, like, you know, a safe place. But it seems like Johnny Johnson wasn't hurting anyone. He didn't mean no harm. He was just still doing his farm work. Just like Sarah Winchester's staff ghosts that just like clocked in the afterlife, like he's just doing it. So
not getting paid for overtime or nothing.
Not even getting paid by Mr. Murphy. But
well,
yeah.
dang. Well, that was great. Like I said, I've never heard of anything like that before, and I'll never look at toy stores the same. But yeah. Well, everybody, that is our show. Hopes you liked it, and I think I just said hoped. I hope you liked it, and if you enjoyed the show, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, 5 stars if you don't mind. If you have something nice to say, and if you didn't know, if you haven't figured it out, we do have a YouTube channel, and we post all of our audio and video on the YouTube as well. So please find us there, and you can like and subscribe and all that fun stuff. And yeah, I guess that's a wrap. We will see you next time.
We'll see you next time for our Valentine's episode.
Yee.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Love you, bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Shook. New episodes of Shook drop every other Wednesday on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, soon to be wherever you find your podcasts. Check out our show notes for more information on this week's episode, our social links, and more. Until next time, stay shook. Hey, do you have a personal paranormal encounter that you'd like to share with us? Visit our website, shookpodcast.com, to fill out our contact form. Or you can send us an email at shookparanormalpod@gmail.com.